Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtipraishu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Hare Krishna. Is the voice clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, it's clear.
Okay. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, Dhruv Maharaj returns home, text number 30 onwards. Dhruvuvacha samadhina naek bhaven yat padam vidusanandadaya urtvaretasah masaraham shadbhiramushya padyo chayam upetya pagata prithangamatihi. Dhruv Maharaj thought to himself, to endeavor to be situated in the shade of the lotus feet of the Lord is not an ordinary task, because even the great brahmacharis headed by Sanandan, who practiced Ashtanga Yoga in trance, attained the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet only after many, many births. Within 6 months, I achieved the same result, yet due to my thinking differently from the Lord, I fell down from my position. So Dhruv Maharaj, just imagine, he is so embarrassed for even having a desire for asking something material from the Lord. He didn't ask. When he prayed to the Lord, he didn't ask. He just had the desire, and the Lord just fulfilled his desire, because Lord knows everybody's desires. Lord fulfilled his desire, and Dhruv Maharaj is now embarrassed. Why did I even desire that? In this verse, Dhruv Maharaj himself explains the cause of his moroseness. First, he laments that to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly is not easy. Even great saintly persons like the 4 celebrated brahmacharis headed by Sanandan, Sanak, Sanatan and Sanat Kumar practiced the yoga system for many, many births and remained in trance before getting the opportunity to see the Supreme Lord face to face. As far as Dhruv Maharaj was concerned, he saw the Supreme Lord personally after only 6 months of practice in devotion service. He expected, therefore, that as soon as he met the Supreme Lord, the Lord would take him to his abode immediately without waiting. Dhruv Maharaj could understand very clearly that the Lord had offered him the rule of the world for 36,000 years, because in the beginning he was under the spell of the material energy and wanted to take revenge against his stepmother and rule over his father's kingdom. Dhruv Maharaj greatly lamented his propensity for ruling the material world and his revengeful attitude towards other living entities. So Dhruv Maharaj is considering that 36,000 years I have to be away from the Lord. Otherwise, if I was so exalted, so advanced, I could have gone directly to the spiritual world without waiting here for 36,000 years. And that to 36,000 years of dealing with the kingdom and ruling over. Although the Lord told him that you will be performing many sacrifices and giving lots of charity. But still, once one has tasted the devotion service, he does not even want to get into all this material dealings anymore. And that's why Dhruv Maharaj is lamenting that why did I even desire that? Aho bat mamanatmayam mandabhagyasya pashyata avachida padamulam katva yache yadantavat. Alas, just look at me, I am so unfortunate. I approach the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can immediately cut the chain of repetition of birth and death. But still, out of my foolishness, I prayed for things which are perishable. So in this material world, everything is impermanent, everything is temporary, everything is perishable. So why bother asking for anything in this material world? The word anatmaya is very significant in this verse. Atma means the soul, and anatmaya means without any conception of the soul. Srila Rishabhdev instructed his sons that unless a human being comes to the point of understanding the Atma or spiritual position, whatever he does is ignorance. And this brings only defeat in his life. Dhruv Maharaj regrets his unfortunate position, for although he approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always able to give his devotee the highest benediction of cessation of the repetition of birth and death, which is impossible for any demigod to offer, he foolishly wanted something perishable. When Hiranyakashipu asked immortality from Lord Brahma expressed his inability to offer such a benediction because he himself is not immortal. Therefore, immortality or complete cessation of the chain of repeated birth and death can be offered by the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead himself, not by others. Harim Vinana Mritam Taranti. It is said that without the blessings of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no one can stop the continuous chain of birth and death within this material world. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is also called Bhavachit. The Vaishnava philosophy in the process of Krishna consciousness prohibits the devotees from all kinds of material aspirations. A Vaishnava devotee should always be Anya Bhilashita Shunyam, free from all material aspirations for the results of fruitive activities or empiric philosophical speculation. Dhruv Maharaj was actually initiated by Narad, the greatest Vaishnava, in the chanting of Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This mantra is a Vishnu mantra, for by practicing the chanting of this mantra, one is elevated to the Vaikuntha or Vishnu Loka. Dhruv Maharaj regrets that although he was initiated in the Vishnu mantra by a Vaishnava, he still aspired for material benefits. That was another cause for lamentation. Although he got the result of the Vishnu mantra by the causeless mercy of the Lord, he lamented how foolish he was to have strived for material benefits while practicing devotional service. In other words, every one of us who is engaged in devotional service in Krishna consciousness should be completely free from all material aspirations. Otherwise, we will have to lament like Dhruv Maharaj. So, of course, this is the level of Dhruv Maharaj, and this is the level of Srila Prabhupada, that he is expecting this from all of us. And of course, there is nothing wrong. He's expecting the best for us. But we have to see our position. If we can live without any material aspirations and make perfect progress in bhakti, yes, we should. This is the best thing to do. Otherwise, let bhakti grow organically in our heart, very gradually. Let it grow. Let the bhakti lata take full support or have full roots grown up first, and then slowly we make progress. But this is a goal for all of us. Of course, this is not the goal. The final goal is to get Krishna Prem, not to get liberation, not to just to go to Vaikuntha Loka. But as far as this point is concerned, that we should aspire for that no more material aspirations, no more material desires. Only and only service of Krishna. Only and only service of the holy names of the Lord. attachment or affinity for chanting the holy name, hearing of Krishna Katha, and doing Krishna service, Krishna puja. That should be the only inspiration. Otherwise, as we see around us, everything is temporary. And people are going crazy after temporary things. They spend so much of time and effort. After what? After something that we're going to lose anyway. And in the material world, how much we can enjoy? Hardly at all. It's just the satisfaction, the mental satisfaction is there that I have this much money and I have these many properties and I have this and I have that. It's just mental satisfaction. There's nothing else. And that too, the mental satisfaction is there because there is so much of show off or competition between the neighbors, between the friends, between the relatives, between the colleagues, between just people. There's so much of competition. If we can just be satisfied with what we have and not hanker for anything more. If it comes, great. If it doesn't come, even better. If that attitude we can develop, or that is a mentality we can develop, then even in the material world, one can live very peacefully and happily. He can live because then if he is engaging his time in the devotional service, then he can live blissfully, even in the material world. Complete satisfaction with whatever Krishna has provided for me. And not just as a matter of lip service, deep within the heart, if one believes that, then nothing can bother that person. Nothing can disturb him. Here, Dhruv Maharaj, although little boy, but he was disturbed in the beginning when his stepmother insulted him. Narad Muni tried to pacify him, tried to give him the right knowledge, but he wouldn't listen. And then amazing amount of tapasya he did, achieved the lotus feet of the Lord within 6 months. Now again he's lamenting, why did I desire that? Because now he got so purified, so purified, that he's basically regretting that why did I take service from the Supreme Lord? Matir vidushita deva patadbhir sahishnubi yo narad vachastatyam nagrahisham asattamaha. Since all the demigods were situated in the higher planetary system will have to come down again, they are all envious of my being elevated to the Vaikuntha Loka by devotional service. These intolerant demigods have dissipated my intelligence, and only for this reason could I not accept the genuine benediction of the instructions of sage Narad. So now he's trying to blame the demigods. They did it. They gave me that intelligence. As shown by many instances in the Vedic literature, when a person undergoes severe austerities, the demigods become very much perturbed because they are always afraid of losing their post as the predominating deities of the heavenly planets. It's known to them that the position in the higher planetary system is impermanent. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, Kshine Punye Marte Lokam Shanti. It is said in the Gita that after exhausting the results of their pious activities, all the demigods who are inhabitants of the higher planetary system have to come back again to this earth. It's a fact that the demigods control the different activities of the limbs of our bodies. Factually, we are not free, even in moving our eyelids. Everything is controlled by them. So every organ, every limb of our body is controlled by a different demigod. Of course, there are more demigods because they have to control the whole universe. Dhruv Maharaj's conclusion is that these demigods, being envious of his superior position in devotion service, conspired against him to pollute his intelligence. And thus, although he was the disciple of a great Vaishnava, Narad Muni, he could not accept Narad's valid instructions. Now, Dhruv Maharaj regretted very much that he had neglected his instructions. Narad Muni had asked him, why should you bother about insult or adoration from your stepmother? He, of course, said to Dhruv Maharaj that since Dhruva was only a child, why did he have to do with such insult or adoration? But Dhruv Maharaj was determined to achieve the benediction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, Narad advised him to go back home for the time being. And in mature time, he could try to practice devotion service. Dhruv Maharaj regretted that he had rejected the advice of Narad Muni and was adamant in asking him for something perishable, namely revenge against his stepmother for her insult and possession of the kingdom of his father. So now he is thinking that since the demigods control each and every part, each and every limb of our body, maybe they put this kind of intelligence in him that he asks for these material benedictions. Of course, demigods, they do try to play with the yogis, but not with the devotees. They're not known to play these kind of games with the devotees. Because devotees are under the jurisdiction of Krishna himself. But the rest of the points are right. That Dhruv Maharaj is saying that is why I could not take note of Narad Muni's instructions. That why bother about insult or adoration at such a young age? Go back home, and when you are mature enough, then you can perform devotion service. Means then he won't have any material aspirations. So his only point of lamentation is, why did I desire for something material? Dhruv Maharaj regretted very much that he could not take seriously the instructions of his spiritual master, and that his consciousness was therefore contaminated. Still, the Lord is so merciful that due to Dhruva's execution of devotion service, he offered Dhruva the ultimate Vaishnava goal. Although the Lord offered him everything and beyond what he could think of. Devim mayam upashitya prasupta eva bhinnadrik tapya dvitiye api asti bhratri vehridruja. Dhruv Maharaj lamented, I was under the influence of the illusory energy, being ignorant of the actual facts. I was sleeping on her lap, under a vision of duality. I saw my brother as my enemy, and falsely I lamented within my heart, thinking they are my enemies. Now he is blaming Maya or illusory energy that are not blaming, or he's saying, I was under her influence, was sleeping on her lap. And actually, this is what Maya does. Makes us think this person is my enemy and that person is my enemy. This friendship and enmity in the material world, it's only based on body. Soul is not enemy of any other soul. Soul cannot be. Soul is completely pure. It's divine. It's full of knowledge, bliss, eternality. There cannot be any enmity between souls. It's only when we think of ourselves as a body, and that's the body of Maya, material energy. And that's when we start thinking, oh, this person is my enemy. This person is friend. This person is doing favors to me, and the enemy is working against me, trying to put me down, and so on and so forth. But for the soul, there is no enemy. Let's see what Prabhupada says. Real knowledge is revealed to a devotee only when he comes to the right conclusion about life by the grace of the Lord. Our creation of friends and enemies within this material world is something like dreaming at night. In dreams, we create so many things out of various impressions in the subconscious mind. But all such creations are simply temporary and unreal. In the same way, although apparently we are awake in the material life, because we have no information of the soul and the super soul, we create many friends and enemies simply out of imagination. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that within this material world or material consciousness, good and bad are the same. The distinction between good and bad is simply a mental concoction. The actual fact is that all living entities are sons of God, are byproducts of His marginal energy. Because of our being contaminated by the modes of material nature, we distinguish one spiritual spark from another. That's also another kind of dreaming. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that those who are actually learned do not make any distinction between a learned scholar, a Brahman, an elephant, a dog, and a Chanda. They do not see in terms of the external body. Rather, they see the person as spirit soul. By higher understanding, one can know that the material body is nothing but a combination of the 5 material elements. In that sense, also, the bodily construction of a human being and that of a demigod are one and the same. From the spiritual point of view, we are all spiritual sparks, parts and parcels of the Supreme Spirit, God. Either materially or spiritually, we are basically one, but we make friends and enemies as dictated by the illusory energy. Dhruva Maharaj therefore said, Devi Mayam Upashatya. The cause of his bewilderment was his association with the illusory material energy. So Dhruva Maharaj, under the influence of this Maya, he was thinking that my stepbrother is my enemy because of him I cannot get on the lap of my father. My stepmother is my enemy because she's stopping me from getting on the lap of my father and the throne because they are acting against my desires. But a devotee always knows, always understands, always believes that it is Krishna who is acting through these people who are acting, apparently they're acting against my desires. And it's only apparent because we are not able to see the final game plan of Krishna. It's very difficult, especially if one is going through some troubled times or hardships. It's very difficult to see Krishna's hand behind it. That's why we need to associate with the books of Srila Prabhupada. Very, very important. Or associate with sadhus, the real sadhus. The sadhus, they can see what is happening. Just like I have given this example earlier. Suppose there's a movie of, say, Amitabh Bachchan. And in that movie, he's acting like, first he's a son of, he has his parents and brothers, sisters, and the friends, and then suppose he becomes a police officer, and then he has The criminals are his enemies, and maybe some police officers are his enemies, and some police officers are his friends. And the whole movie goes on for 3 hours, whatever, lots of fights and actions and emotions and drama and this and that. So when he's acting in that movie, all these people who are acting as his enemies or his friends, they're all acting. They're not really his enemies or friends. But when he is acting and when we are watching that movie, we get so engrossed in that movie, thinking that yes, they are his enemies or they are his friends, because everybody is acting so wonderfully. But when they themselves are watching, or when the director is watching, he knows this is all drama. This is nothing real. Nothing is real in this. Why? Because they separate themselves from the movie and then watch it. We don't know the reality, so we get so engrossed in the movie and then watch it. Now, same thing if we project to our lives. In our lives, so we have a set of parents, relatives, brothers, sisters, uncle, aunts, cousins, grandparents, school friends, and in the school there are friends and enemies. College there are friends and enemies. At the workplace there are friends and enemies. Even among relatives and neighbors. So much going on, and so much of emotion and drama and action in our lives, day-to-day lives, everyday life. There's something else is going on in our lives. Why? Because we think we are part of this drama and we have to act properly. For the ladies, they have to act properly, like as a mother, or as a sister, as a daughter, as a daughter-in-law, or whatever, as a wife. And the men have to act properly as brothers and husbands, as son and son-in-law, and friends, and this, and colleagues, whatever. They have to act properly. But what if we detach ourselves from that movie that is going on right now? Of course, Amitabh Bachchan's movie lasts for only 2.5, 3 hours, and our movie will last for 80, whatever, 50, 60, 80, 90 years, whatever. But if we detach ourselves from that movie and then see ourselves, this is all drama going on, nothing else. Who's my real enemy? Nobody. And who's my real friend? In this movie, actually nobody, but really my friend is Krishna. He says, Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Pritchati. And if right now we're thinking, so much of political things going on, and Hindu and Muslims are my enemies, and Pakistani are my enemies, and now Chinese are my enemies, or Nepalis are my enemies, and thing. They're all temporary designations. Everything is temporary. China has taken over our boundaries, and now we have to get back at them, and we will take over the boundaries. The piece of land is always there. We just move the boundaries here and there every once in a while. So we have to learn to detach ourselves from this. I'm not saying it is easy. It is difficult because lifetime after lifetime we've been thinking, or we've been living this, living under this illusion that I'm this body. And then everything related to my body is related to me, whether friends or enemies. But now with that knowledge, now we have some devotional service under our belt, we can at least see from it, like in architecture or engineering side, we say from the bird eye view. Bird eye view means she is flying above maybe whatever 100, 200, 300 feet above the ground, and she sees whatever the bird sees, because detached from whatever is happening on the ground. Then that seeing is a little proper. So we see from bird eye view what exactly is happening. It's all drama, nothing else. It's just drama. Some movie going on, movie is scripted properly, and everybody is acting their parts out properly. Very nicely, everybody is acting. It's all temporary. Whatever is created, it's going to be destroyed. And after it's destroyed, something new will be created. And this is what Dhruv Maharaj is saying, because he is self-realized now. He has seen the Supreme Lord. He got the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and by the touch of his conch shell on his forehead, he spoke out wonderful prayers in glorification of the Supreme Lord. Now he is a self-realized soul, and he is not thinking in terms of body now, and that's why he's lamenting. And why did I even desire that? Why did I think that Uttam and my stepmother are my enemies? And this is what Prabhupada is saying. By higher understanding, one can know that the material body is nothing but a combination of 5 material elements. In that sense, also the bodily construction of a human being and that of a demigod are one and the same. From the spiritual point of view, we are all spiritual sparks, parts and parcels of the Supreme Spirit, God. Either materially or spiritually, we are basically one, but we make friends and enemies as dictated by the illusory energy. Of course, Maya does not act upon us until we want Maya to act upon us. So we think in terms of body, that's why Maya acts upon us. Dhruv Maharaj therefore said, Devi Mayam Pashitya. The cause of his bewilderment was his association with the illusory material energy. So if Dhruv Maharaj is thinking like that, because of his association with Maya, he was bewildered. What is our position? We are not associating with Maya, we are completely submerged in Maya. So how bewildered we must be. Maya tat prarthitam vyartham chikitsev yushi prasadya jagatatmanam tapsa dushprasadanam bhavachad maya cheham bhavam bhagya vivarjitaham. It's very difficult to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in my case, although I have satisfied the super soul of the whole universe, I have prayed only for useless things. My activities are exactly like treatment given to a person who's already dead. Just see how unfortunate I am. For in spite of meeting the Supreme Lord, who can cut one's link with birth and death, I have prayed for the same conditions again. Treatment given to a person who is already dead. Sometimes it so appears that a devotee engaged in the loving service of the Lord desires some material benefit in exchange for his service. This is not the proper way to discharge devotional service. Out of ignorance, of course, sometimes a devotee does so, but Dhruv Maharaj regrets his personal behavior in this connection. So, out of ignorance, sometimes a devotee asks for some material benefits in exchange for his service. And the Supreme Lord, out of his mercy, he might even fulfill the desires. But he is not that happy in fulfilling those desires. But this is Actually, this is also what makes a devotion service very sweet. That a devotee, he performs devotion service and he asks for some material benefits and Lord fulfills his desires, then his faith increases in the Lord actually. And then sooner or later, it could be in this lifetime or next lifetime, he comes back, he realizes his mistake, and devotion service is something he just cannot give up. So he starts again later in this life or next life. And then again, if the material desires are there, Krishna can fulfill those material desires. And again, he laments and he carries on with his devotion. So it may go on for a few lifetimes. Till he really understands this is frustrating. Text 35. Swarajyam yachato maudyan mano me adikshito bata Ishvara takshina punnena falikara nivadhana. Because of my state of complete foolishness and paucity of pious activities, although the Lord offered me his personal service, I wanted material name, fame, and prosperity. My case is just like that of the poor man who, when he satisfied a great emperor who wanted to give him anything he might ask, out of ignorance, asked only for a few broken grains of husked rice. In this verse, the word Swarajyam means complete independence is very significant. A conditioned soul does not know what complete independence is. Complete independence means situation in one's own constitutional position. The real independence of a living entity who is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to remain always dependent on the Supreme Lord, just like a child who plays in complete independence, guided by his parents who watch over him. So in America, we celebrated Independence Day. In India, the Independence Day is coming up on 15th August. Here Prabhupada says, the real independence of a living entity who is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to remain always dependent on the Supreme Lord. It's to remain dependent. So real independence is when we are always dependent on the Supreme Lord. So that dependence is the real use of our free will. So by our free will, we give up our free will because we don't want to misuse that free will. Our free will should be that I want to serve you, Krishna, I want to take shelter of you. We've been misusing our free will or independent will by being away from Krishna. But that is not independence. Actually, that is dependence, or that is enslaving us by the material modes of nature. So when we get freed from the material modes of nature, and that's only possible if we take shelter of the Supreme Lord, shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So that is real independence. Somebody might say, oh, I'm independent here in the material world. No, we are completely bound up by the three bonds of material nature. Completely bound up. We cannot work on our own until we are sanctioned by the Paramatma and three modes of nature take over and still witnessed by Paramatma. In the spiritual world, there is no such thing. No Paramatma is there. No material modes are there. Everything is in Vasudeva Sattva, Shuddha Sattva platform. No goodness, passion, or ignorance platform. But the spiritual world, everybody is busy serving Krishna out of their independence. Nobody is bothering them, nobody is controlling. So that is real independence. And Prabhupada gives a nice example, like a child who plays in complete independence, but being guided by his parents who watch over him. Or another example has been given, just like a cow, if she's tied up by a rope to some rod, so she has the independence to move around, but it's a limited independence, just the length of the rope. Within that length, she can do anything. But that's the kind of independence we want. The independence of the conditioned soul does not mean to fight with the obstacles offered by Maya, but to surrender to Krishna. In the material world, everyone is trying to become completely independent simply by fighting against the obstacles offered by Maya. This is called the struggle for existence. Real independence is to be reinstated in the service of the Lord. Anyone who goes to the Vaikuntha planets or Golok Vrindavan planet is freely offering his service to the Lord. That is complete independence. Just contrary to this is the material overlordship, which we wrongly take to be independence. Many great political leaders have tried to establish independence, but due to such so-called independence, the people's dependence only has increased. The living entity cannot be happy trying to be independent in the material world. One has to surrender, therefore, unto the lotus feet of the Lord and engage in his original eternal service. Dhruv Maharaj regrets that he wanted material opulence and greater prosperity than that of his great-grandfather, Lord Brahma. His begging from the Lord was like that, like a poor man's asking a great emperor for a few grains of broken rice. So there was a story like that. A poor man, somehow he pleased the great king of his kingdom, and the king asked him, "Ask me for something." And because he could not think more beyond the few handfuls of broken rice, he just asked for that. Just give me that. That's it. So because of our limited exposure or limited intelligence, we ask for something which is very limited and very insignificant. Like Dhruv Maharaj is regretting that he asked for something very insignificant. Insignificant for the Supreme Lord. The conclusion is that anyone who's engaged in loving service of the Lord should never ask for material prosperity from the Lord. The awarding of material prosperity simply depends on the stringent rules and regulations of the external energy. Pure devotees ask the Lord only for the privilege for serving Him. This is our real independence. If we want anything else, it's a sign of our misfortune. So pure devotees only ask the Lord for privilege of serving Him. That's it. Just give me some more service, more service, more service. Maitreya Vacha, Nave Mukundasya Padarvindhyo Rajo Jushastat Bhavadrisha Jana Vanchanti Tadasyam Rite Arthamatmano Yadrichya Labdha Manaha Samriddhaya. The great sage Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidura, persons like you, who are pure devotees of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can offer liberation, and who are always attached to the honey of His lotus feet, are always satisfied in serving at the lotus feet of the Lord. In any condition of life, such persons remain satisfied, and thus they never ask the Lord for material prosperity. They never ask the Lord for material prosperity. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He is a supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor of everything and anything within this creation, and the supreme friend of everyone. When one knows these things perfectly, he is always satisfied. The pure devotees never hankers. Pure devotee never hankers after any kind of material prosperity. The karmis, however, or jnanis or yogis endeavor always for their own personal happiness. Karmis work day and night to improve the economic condition. Jnanis undergo severe austerities in order to get liberation. And yogis also undergo severe austerities by practicing the yoga system for attainment of wonderful mystic powers. A devotee, however, is not interested in such activities. He does not want mystic powers or liberation or material prosperity. He is satisfied in any condition of life as long as he is constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. The Lord's feet are compared to the lotus wherein there is saffron dust. A devotee is always engaged in drinking the honey from the lotus feet of the Lord. Unless one is freed from all material desires, he cannot actually taste the honey from the Lord's lotus feet. So unless one is freed from all material desires, he cannot taste the honey from the Lord's lotus feet. Now, what does that mean? Honey from the Lord's lotus feet. And before that, Prabhupada says the Lord's lotus feet are compared to the lotus. The Lord's feet are compared to the lotus wherein there is saffron dust. So saffron dust actually represents the devotees who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Saffron represents renunciation or detachment. So those who are attached to the lotus feet of the Lord are detached from the material world. So they can only taste the honey. Honey means, how to explain that? So the bumblebees, they go and they from the flowers, pollen, they suck honey and they bring it to the honeycomb and deposit it over there. So these devotees, somehow they are holding on to the honey of the lotus at the lotus feet of the Lord, which means it's so sweet, so tasty, so nectarian, that they cannot give up the lotus feet of the Lord, because sticking on to the lotus feet of the Lord is so wonderful. And the pollen that the honey the bumblebees get is like the Krishna Katha. They get a Krishna Nama, Krishna Puja, Krishna Seva. They get from everywhere, and they bring it to the lotus feet of the Lord and they deposit it there. It tastes like honey. It's so sweet, and of course they don't have diabetes either, and they don't want to give it up. It's just like that. They just don't want to give it up. One has to discharge his devotional service duties without being disturbed by the coming and going of material circumstances. This desirelessness of material prosperity is called Nishkam. One should not mistakenly think that Nishkam means giving up all desires. That is impossible. A living entity is eternally existent. It cannot give up desires. Living entities must have desires. That is a symptom of life. When there is recommendation to become desireless, it is to be understood that this means that we should not desire anything for our sense gratification. For a devotee, this state of mind, nihispriha, is the right position. Actually, every one of us already has an arrangement for a standard of material comforts. A devotee should always remain satisfied with the standard of comforts offered by the Lord, as stated in Ishopanishad, Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita. This saves time for executing Krishna consciousness. So satisfied with the standards of comfort and not work so hard, so overtime, so that's what in Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami, Atyahar Prayasascha Prajalpo Niyamaka. So that will destroy the bhakti if we work over and over just to make more and more and more money. So we should try to make a balance between our spiritual and material lives. And then one can really enjoy both material life and spiritual life as well. But the desire should be to continue to give more impetus or more effort on the spiritual life. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we like often say like Indra and other demigods do this and do that to the yogis and all those. Aren't we committing some kind of aparadh? Like, because they all are elevated souls and somewhere they are working under the direction of Lord himself only. So, isn't it we commit crime by doing this?
No, the demigods, I mean, we are not talking about Lord Shiva because he's in different category. But the other demigods, like Lord Brahma or Indra, Chandra, Varuna, they all are exalted souls, better than us, but they're not pure devotees. They all have karma mishrit bhakti. Of course, later on, Prabhupada will tell us about the position of demigods also in some place that one has to be very highly elevated to get the position of a demigod. But regardless, they're not pure devotees because they have some desire to enjoy materially. That's why they are in that position. So if Prabhupada says, of course, from Prabhupada's point of view, they're all right. We cannot say like that. What Prabhupada says.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So this question gave rise to another question. So when we people and about demigods, then Gita, that demigods, worshipping demigods, and we worshipping the demigods. It is not like don't go to the devotee who is not very pure. Like the devotee, they are not pure also. And they are associating the devotee. Then we go and say, so you should not associate. So
I'm losing your voice in the middle.
okay.
I couldn't connect the whole thing.
Okay. What I'm saying is, now sometimes we dissuade people from working demigods by preaching. Also, we don't have particular this animosity to the demigod. For the benefit of those worshippers, we tell them that it's not very. So this is what. Another point is, even while preaching, that please associate with devotees or associate with impure devotees. So this impure devotee is also, when we are dissuading people from associating with them, we are not committing an offense. Or are we committing an offense? Is it clear now, Prabhu?
Not fully. I'm so sorry. Can you maybe you can write it to the group on the group and then I can try to answer.
I will write it on the group.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's disconnecting in the middle and I cannot understand the whole thing.
Yeah, I think there is some linking problem.
Maybe because I was Bluetooth speaker, so that could also be one reason.
Could be. Now you can try.
Is it clear now? Better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay. No, I was saying when in the course of our preaching, sometimes we dissuade people who are worshipping demigods, saying that demigod worship is unintelligent and such things, and we quote from Bhagavad Gita also. And some other times we even persuade some devotees. I'm not doing, but I've seen some devotees telling that you don't associate with this particular devotee, he is not very pure. So this way, when we tell, is it not offensive?
Well, it depends. If somebody is telling me the other person is not very pure, it depends upon his intentions. What exactly are the intentions?
Right.
So,
But the
and yeah, go ahead.
But the intentions are known only to him, the person who is preaching, and Lord Himself. So others cannot know what is his intention.
Yeah. So, and that's what happens because we many times end up dissuading or just driving this newcomer away by our own ulterior motives.
Right.
Which is completely wrong. Actually, we should be mature. As a preacher, one has to be very mature.
Yes.
And we become judgmental. Actually, this is our judgmental heart.
Yeah.
We become very judgmental.
Yes.
Just because I got initiated doesn't mean I become pure devotee and I become a Paramahansa. So we act like that. We try to act like that. But this is all because we are on the bodily level. We think of somebody as our enemy and our friends.
Right.
But a newcomer doesn't know anything. He just believes in whatever these people in Dhoti Kurta and Tilak and Kanti say. So he thinks everybody is a Shuddha devotee, Shuddha Bhakta here. Yes, that's a problem. So it is an offense, and the people who do this kind of thing, they don't stick around for too long.
Right. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, tomorrow onwards we'll have the classes on Google Meet.
Oh yes,
Go.
thank you, Dipanshu Prabhu, Adit Prabhu, Radha Prabhu. They have done wonderful job
I have not
Yeah.
done activities.
to configure out everything, and let's see. We'll start testing Google Meet. I hope everybody has given their email IDs so
far,
that they can
Prabhu,
get the.
So in
Yes,
this
go ahead.
class, if there is anybody who has not given their email ID to me, please send it to me. Email ID, your name, and your phone number. So we will update it on Google Meet, and tomorrow you'll get the email from Google.
So yeah, let's start. Let's hope it all works out great. I'm pretty hopeful of that. So we can get rid of Zoom, and slowly we'll get used to Google Meet also, just like we got used to Zoom.
Yeah.
We got so much used to Zoom.
I know, it's so many years it's been going on.
Right. So we should be very grateful to Zoom in any case.
Yeah. We really
Great
utilize
service
it.
to all of us. Without going
Yeah.
out of our homes, we were associating, meeting.
Yep.
In fact,
Yes, Mata.
I said, Prabhuji, this is third year going on with Zoom.
yes.
Yeah, I know.
3.5 years, 1.5 years.
So maybe it's,
Prabhuji,
yeah,
Prabhuji,
go ahead.
one way Zoom also is a virtual a devotee of Lord Krishna, I think, because Zoom has facilitated the service to us for 3 years.
I'm pretty sure the CEO and other workers of Zoom, they got plenty of Agyat Sukriti. Bank balance.
Haribol.
All over ISKCON, because of this lockdown, everybody is using Zoom to give lectures and seminars, and kirtans are happening on Zoom. So I'm pretty sure they got plenty of Agyat Sukriti.
Prabhuji, the
Okay,
biggest
so
service is
yeah.
that Mayapur TV, there is a site called mayapur.tv. And I've seen like all across the world, the ISKCON temples, they are all connected on CCTV, and anytime you can see what is going on, bhajan, kirtan, darshan, everything is live.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Yep.
Haribol.
Yep. Okay, so thank you all very much. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Jai Shri
Jai Shri
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.